What's the plans
Oh,
for shofar?
oh, so I was going to ask you. I don't suppose you're actually coming anywhere near Barn Hill Road, are you? No.
We certainly are, but we were planning on doing it maybe 10 houses up. You know where the Schalks live, almost at the corner.
Oh yeah, opposite the yellow bungalow.
Correct. So we were aiming for 3 o'clock to be outside there and blow the shofar. But the idea is really to try and not have to knock on anyone's doors unless we have to. That way, everyone can be well socially distanced, etc., and be in the room.
That's perfect. I'll be there at 3 o'clock.
Amazing. And if you have any neighbors, any friends that want to be there, please, by any time. And if there's a few other places dotted around at different hours, so if that time doesn't work for someone, we do that. And if someone can't get out of the house, so then the trick is to have them open up the window and we stand on the street and then everyone's safe.
Oh, that's so wonderful. You've made my evening.
Oh, that was easy.
I'm so happy. No, because I can't walk as far as the Babish this year. It's too far for me. But I can get down to the yellow bungalow, though. That I can do. That's my daily. Wow.
Very good.
Oh, I'm thrilled. Thrilled to pieces. Excellent.
You might even see a few friends from afar.
Oh, I don't know if I've got many friends, but anyway, I smile at everybody. Oh, they won't be able to see it. I've got a mask on. Never mind. I'll smile with my eyes.
There you go. I'm sure just seeing your face will make everyone else smile.
Maybe not. Maybe it'll make them go away, but they won't be with me for long, so we'll all manage.
Baruch Hashem. We have so much to be grateful for in the year.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm so happy. That's lovely. Oh,
yeah, that's all the plan. Hashem's up.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay, it's 8:30 on the button. We're going to get started. We're going to get a loaded shiur, Be'ez Hashem. It is actually the last Monday night of Tafshin Pei of 5780. It's the last Monday night of the year. So this time next week will be next year. And we're getting ready for a very, very special Rosh Hashanah, like never, ever before. So many people are going to be making this Rosh Hashanah personal. So many people are going to make this Rosh Hashanah so personal, just to them and Hashem. Many other people will be making it to shul with Hashem's help safely. But it's going to be our opportunity to make it like never, ever before, whether by choice or not by choice. This is definitely very special. We're going to do a little bit about what's going on in this time of the year. And then we're going to discuss not what's going on in this week's Parshah, because with Shabbos being Rosh Hashanah, there is no Parshah of the week. In shul, they will not be reading a regular Parshah. Shabbos, when we usually read the Parshah, we'll be reading Parshas Rosh Hashanah, which is why this past week we read a double portion, Mitzavim and Vayelech, because we had to make up with only one non-Yom Tov Shabbos left between now and the completion of the whole cycle. And that's going to be not the Shabbos coming, the Shabbos after that, just before Yom Kippur. And that will be Hazinu. So Nitzavim and Vayelech were put together, and we're now up to Shabbos Parshas Rosh Hashanah, if you could say that. So we're going to discuss what's the summary of Rosh Hashanah, what goes on in Rosh Hashanah, and then we'll talk about one area of Rosh Hashanah that in particular, if we focus on that, it's a little bit of a question and answer idea, but it has with it a fantastic opening into how we can approach Rosh Hashanah in an uplifting way, which I think is very important to us all. And the idea is that we should be able to come into Rosh Hashanah in a good frame of mind, not caught off guard. At least we know what we're getting into. That would be a good start. And then, of course, once we know what we're getting into, we can try and make it special and the rest. So we're going to start off with what's going on in the calendar this time of the year, starting off with what happened today. Today, Monday, was the 25th day of the month of Elul, which is the anniversary of creation, the very first day of creation. There was 7 days of creation, 6 days of creation. The first day was in the 25th day of Elul. And it was on this day that Hashem began creating time, space, and everything else that comes with it. All of creation, all of discovered and undiscovered universes. All of that was created by Hashem in the beginning of creation. And none of that has any reason to exist other than the fact that Hashem decided to make it out of nothing, out of nothingness. So it's a very special day today. Yet, as we all know, we don't talk about today being the beginning of the year. Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the year. But today's the beginning of creation. Also, what happens now is that we are in the last week of the year. If you think of the year as a mountain, and we're climbing the mountain day by day, so being in the last week of the year, we are very, very close to the peak, the very top of the whole year, Tafshin Pei. If we've been doing good things, adding and increasing day by day, we have now accumulated and brought together almost an entire year full of Tafshin Pei goodness. So we're in a very great place. And to top it off, for the whole last 3 weeks and a bit, we've been hanging out with the king in the field. Hashem has been spending time with us. And as we discussed at length last time and the week before that, the reason why Hashem comes into the field is to remind us how much he needs us. Hashem wants us to know how much we are needed. As simple as that. Hashem needs each and every one of us, which is why he made us. And he comes for the whole month of Elul. And he's been hanging out and giving us help and suggestions and ideas of how we can behave better, be more upbeat, more excited about what's going on, because Hashem comes to spend time in the field with the farmers, on their farms, with their own little pieces of worries and stuff and sorrows, and the king gives them advice and encourages them out there in the farm. We are the farmers who are doing mundane stuff relative to Malachim and the big high celestial creations.
Hello.
Hashem, and this is the idea of how we are spending time with Hashem in our personal life already for 3.5 weeks. And now Hashem's still spending time with us until he's going to invite us back into the palace on Rosh Hashanah. So it's still a very good time, if you haven't done so already, to have your mezuzahs checked and tefillin, if anyone has in the house is tefillin, to make sure that they are kosher and that mezuzahs are well positioned and every door that needs has one, and it's not putting backwards or the wrong way around, etc. The other thing is talking about Rosh Hashanah, very important to prepare ahead of time. One of the things we don't do in Rosh Hashanah is make phone calls or send messages. And therefore, if a person needs help arranging a shofar, to hear the shofar, to blow the shofar for other people, it's important to do that ahead of time. Amazingly, out of all the different campaigns that the Rebbe launched, the shofar campaign was the first campaign the Rebbe launched, if I'm not mistaken. And the shofar campaign to make sure that every Yid gets a chance to hear the shofar. Nobody should miss out. Everyone deserves to hear shofar. And it's doable now more than ever. www.shofar.support. Log on, put your name, your details. Someone will get in touch and arrange a volunteer to come by to COVID safe, to COVID safely. Blow the shofar for you, Be'ezras Hashem, or for anyone else who needs. We are also, this time of the year, in the week of Slichos. The week before Rosh Hashanah, minimum of 4 days. If not, you do more, you do a whole week plus. This year, we have a full week from Motzei Shabbos, Sunday, all the way through till Erev Rosh Hashanah on Friday. Every day, we have Slichos. Slichos is Hashem's gift to us, in which we prepare ourselves to be in the right frame of mind so that when Rosh Hashanah comes, we're ready. We're ready. And of course, we usually talk about what comes up on Shabbos. Last week we said that we were looking forward to a Shabbos Mevarchim like there's never been before. This week we're looking forward to a Shabbos, which is a Rosh Hashanah. What could be better than that? Starting a whole new year. Fresh new slate. This Shabbos is happening. It's coming faster than we can imagine. And besides for all the good food and all the lovely things we'll be doing, it'll also be the Rosh Hashanah. So we're going to talk about Rosh Hashanah, what goes on Rosh Hashanah. And we're going to start off by talking about why it's called Rosh Hashanah, not Techilas Hashanah. Techilas Hashanah would mean the beginning of the year. On the 1st of Jan, is called New Year's Eve. It's the beginning of the new year. So the day is named after the fact that it's a new year. So we could call Rosh Hashanah, instead of calling Rosh Hashanah, we could call it Chadasha. Or Shana Chadash. Shana Chadasha. Why are we calling it the head of the year? And of course, the answer is going to be that it's not just the first day of the year, it's the head of the year. And the head of the year is the time of when, like the head, which is the most vital limb of the body, the head of the year is the most important part of the year. Why so? So we've said this analogy a number of times, but if you go to the train station, and there are a number of trains on different tracks, and one of them looks very beautiful and very nice, another one not so much. But the one which you need is on one track, and the more beautiful one is on a different track. So if I get onto the wrong train, it might feel more comfortable for the beginning until I realize I'm going the wrong direction. But then it's too late because you already got onto the wrong train. So you have to make all sorts of things, get off and run and this and that. Getting onto the right train is so important. Getting onto the head of the year correctly, give yourself a good start. Start off Rosh Hashanah on the right foot, and we're going to talk about that today. But before we do that, we're going to mention a few things about Rosh Hashanah. Number one, we know Rosh Hashanah is the 6th day of creation, because today, the 25th, was the first. We worked 25, 26, 27, The 6th day of creation was on Rosh Hashanah. And that's when Adam and Eve were not born, were created. Adam and Eve were made. And that is the birth of humanity. We also know that Rosh Hashanah is Judgment Day. What's being judged on Rosh Hashanah? So we know the answer is all humanity is being judged. Human beings are being judged on Rosh Hashanah. It's the birth of humanity. And we're being judged on Rosh Hashanah. What are we being judged over? For what? Did we do something? Did we not do something? And the answer is our behavior over the past year. Our behavior over the past year is being looked at. The book has been opened, and it's been accumulated over the whole year. When it comes Rosh Hashanah, Hashem's going to look into the books. What we're going to learn is actually that on Rosh Hashanah, there's a minhag, very important, that on the first night of Rosh Hashanah, especially after davening Mariv, for those who daven Mariv, we wish one another, Lashana Taiva Tikaseh V'Sechaseh. If you're talking to a woman, to a female, you say Lashana Taiva Tikaseh V'Sechaseh. We wish one another, it should be written and inscribed for a good year. And that we say especially on the first night of Rosh Hashanah. After that, certainly if you take the mystical track, you're good to go. There's no need to wish everybody Lashana Tov V'Chassid. If anyone wants to unmute himself at any point, please do so freely. Unmute on the computer or *6 on your phone. And the idea is that when a person says to another person, Lashana Tov V'Chassid, which name should be inscribed into the book of life, they're bringing a good vibe into the world. But after the first night, the shift from being focused on Judgment Day shifts into focusing on a different area, on what Rosh Hashanah is all about. And really these two ideas tie together. Because if you read simple halacha, the way it's brought down in Gemara and in the Shulchan Aruch, the judgment is about whether our behavior has earned a good year or hasn't yet earned a good year. And based on our performance over the past 12 months is how the year to come is judged. But once you throw in a bit of spices, once you start switching on the lights and noticing what Chassidus teaches, it's not just about whether we've earned or not earned. Are we going to be rewarded or punished in the simple understanding of what reward and punishment is? That's true. But on a deeper level, actually, it's much more than that. And one of the beautiful mashalim, one of the beautiful ways of explaining it is like somebody who was hired to do a job, and she comes into the office on the first day of work, and of course the workplace provides the table and the chair and the computer and this phone in order that the work and the job should be able to be done. that part of the investment is on the company. I don't have to bring a computer or a chair from my house to do a job for you. I have to come and I have to have slept and I have to have eaten and the rest. But certain parts is part of the job provider's department to be able to make available. And that's the goodness that Hashem makes available to us, is Hashem giving us the material that we need with which we can do the mission we were born for. So why do I have a house and a roof over my head? Because without that, it'd be very hard to do what Hashem has asked me to do. So now Hashem says at the end of the year, I've given all this investment. What was the return? And based on that, let's decide how much I should invest in the coming year. And here, says Chassidus, is where Teshuvah plays an enormous role. Because what Teshuvah does is, it's me coming before Hashem, telling Hashem, actually, I know that quite a lot of the resources you threw at me and you invested into me last year may not have gone completely to the task for which it was given to me. But I understand that this coming year, I know what you want from me. And here, look at a new business plan. Look at what I am proposing for this coming year. Please continue to invest. And this is what I'm hoping to achieve with this new investment. And Hashem, the ever merciful Father, the judge who happens to be our Father, the King who happens to love us because we are his children, that King listens to how we present to him this renewed commitment of a business plan, and we commit ourselves to doing what he wants us to do with the resources he'll be providing to us. That is Teshuvah. And that's why Rosh Hashanah is known as Coronation Day, because it's the time where we come before Hashem and remind ourselves and Hashem that actually everything about our life, everything that we own, everything that makes us into who we are, is given to us by Hashem for Hashem. So why was it given to us? Because with this gift, I am able to make a difference. That is a healthy teshuvah. Why is it so healthy? Because it's very realistic. It's not just a wish and a prayer that I behave nicely. I pray to Hashem. I wish that from today onwards, I will only behave well. I will only behave good. That's very nice, but it's not teshuvah. Teshuvah is when I'm honest and realistic, and I acknowledge to myself that there are certain areas that I didn't quite use the way I should have done. But I also tell myself that there are areas that I can, yes, do in this coming year. Not just because I wish to do it, but because I can actually do so. This is teshuvah. And this is the focus of the rest of the 48 hours of Rosh Hashanah, is Kabbalas HaMalchus, coronating and accepting Hashem as our sovereign king. So what do we do in order to do that? We have the mitzvah of shofar, which is us, most commonly explained to be calling out the trumpets that coronate and celebrate the renewing of Hashem as our master, our Eivish, our king, and we blow the shofar to announce that. Other explanations, like the Rambam writes, is like the war cry, the siren. It wasn't an air raid siren in those days, but the siren of war, which is a wake-up call. Stop sleeping, wake up, because it's a real day, it's serious. Joking is over. It's time to start getting real. And that's the shofar sound that gives us a shuckle, the wake up. Then you have some other beautiful explanations. You have the correlation to the Akedah, where we ask Hashem, if you can't help us, if you can't trust us in our own merit, trust in this, in the merit of our great grandfather, Avraham Avinu, who was willing to sacrifice his son for you with alacrity. And then in the last second, you told him to take his son off the altar, and instead you found the ram caught in the thorns by its horn. And therefore we're sounding the horn of a ram, so you should remember the commitment of our great grandfather, and at least in his merit, trust us with another good year. And then you have Rabbi Yitzhak Berditchev's mashal, and he says it also reminds us of Matan Torah. At the time of the giving of the Torah, none of the other nations of the world were willing to accept Hashem's Torah, willing to commit to follow Hashem's law and order. And it was only us. And therefore, we sound the shofar just like there was sounding of the shofar at the giving of the Torah. And we remind Hashem and ourselves how committed we are as a people. And therefore, even if we haven't quite performed and lived up to the investment Hashem invested in us, but Hashem should trust us nonetheless, because we've got a good track record. Maybe not recently, but in our foundational period of creation as a nation, we were very committed, like the story of Matan Torah. So however we explain the shofar is definitely very much the key part, the number one mitzvahs hayoim of Rosh Hashanah, to hear the shofar. And although a lot of people think that apple dipped in honey is very, very important in Rosh Hashanah, it's not a bad idea to dip apple in honey. It's a very good idea. It's a minhag. And it reminds us is that we're asking Hashem for a sweet year, not just a good year. Because sometimes goodness isn't clearly good. You don't realize how good it is. But sweet is definitely sweet. So we ask Hashem for a sweet year, and we dip the sweet apple into sweet honey. And we say, Yehi Ratzim, Hashem grant us a sweet year. But it's not the mitzvah. It's not the mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah. The mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah is to hear the sound of the shofar. Very important. And that goes with that is the call that wakes us up to feel connected and committed. That also Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the 10 days of Teshuvah. It's the first 2 days, but it follows along the next entire week between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and Yom Kippur, which is also one of the 10 days of Teshuvah. And it ends with a shofar sound all the way at the end of Yom Kippur, which is the 10 days of Teshuvah. Very special times. The halacha wants to explain how auspicious, how uplifting, how unique, opportune is the time of the 10 days of Teshuvah. It uses this analogy, beautiful. It says generally we like to daven in shul, not only because we can get to see our friends, but because we can daven together as a congregation. And when we daven together, we know that the power of a communal davening is so much more powerful than an individual. Yet, says the halacha, when it comes to these 10 days, the individual tefillah, the prayer said by one single person on their own, has the same power as the minyan, as the congregational tefillah on a regular day. That's how special the energy in the air and the 10 days of Teshuvah are enormous. And it starts on Rosh Hashanah. So one of the customs that we do, we said we dip apple in honey is one important custom. We also mentioned saying Lashana Tova on the first night of Rosh Hashanah especially. We know there's another custom, another minhag to go to Tashlich. To take a hike and go to where there's water. Even better still if there's fish in the water, if you can help it. And we think of two things that remind us of long life, of water that brings life, and fish that have no ayin hara and the eyes are never closed. And we dive into Hashem. We ask Hashem that He should help us on the mission of letting go, getting rid of, letting go of what we call Averis. What's an Avera? We'll talk about in a minute. But we also have the important mitzvahs that come in Rosh Hashanah, and that is lighting candles on the first night before Shabbos starts, lighting candles on the second night after Shabbos finishes. So after nightfall, not sunset, nightfall. And that should be done from a pre-existing flame. Pre-existing flame means a flame that's not been burning over Shabbos. That's not been lit over Shabbos. It has been burning over Shabbos. And of course, we have the mitzvah to make Kiddush first night, a mitzvah to make Kiddush on the second night. And if you made a shechion on your candles, you don't make a shechion on your Kiddush. And then you have to have a festive meal. 4 festive meals crammed into a short 48-hour period. You got to have a good meal for the first night and the first day and the second night and the second day. You got to have a good meal. Why are we having a good meal if it's Judgment Day? Shouldn't we be too nervous to eat? Says the halacha, no. We go to Judgment Day full of simcha, confidence. We know that Hashem is going to help us win this court case. Because Avinu Malkeinu, the king in the story of this judgment, happens to be our Father. So although we're very serious and it's a serious time, but we still have festive meals. And it's a halachic requirement to eat a festive meal on Rosh Hashanah, on Judgment Day, to go home and have a feast. L'shana tova tekasef as a chasem. Come, let's have a party. And that's what we do. First night, first day, first, second night, second day. Let's go back to, for a second, the idea of Averis and getting rid of them. And we've said this many a time, but today's day and age, the most classic Averis are worry, being sad, being self-conscious instead of being confident. And then I'm going to add on tonight, not allowing ourselves to live like we want to. Or in Hebrew, we're not allowing ourselves to live like Geula people. We are choosing to lock ourselves into non-Geula mindsets. That's not okay. These are Averis. Averis means they are overrides, they are glitches, and they have to be fixed. We've got to let go of them. And therefore we go to Tashlich when we say, Hashem, please, I've come into the water, I'm emptying out my pockets, or I'm shaking my tzitzis. Like it says in the Siddur, I'm asking you, Hashem, give me the courage to let go of the things I can, and for the things that I can't, please help me do it. So important to think of the realness of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is not made for malachim, for angels. Rosh Hashanah was not made for angels. Rosh Hashanah was made for human beings. If you are human, if you are a human being, Rosh Hashanah was made for you. And nobody's going to ask you, how come you weren't Moshe Rabbeinu, or Rebbe Akiva, or Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, or the Arizal, or the Rebbe? How come you weren't? That's not the question. The question is, how am I going to be real me? Without getting bogged down with worries, or with feeling unhappy, or feeling unconfident, or feeling that I can't do what Hashem wants me to do because I'm just so out of it. All these things, they are mind blocks or emotional blocks that Rosh Hashanah comes to tell us it's the energies in the air. Rosh Hashanah was designed for us. Rosh Hashanah was designed for us. Come to shul or come to your machzor corner in your home. It's very important to have a machzor corner or davening corner where you're going to go if you're not going to be in shul, and this is going to be the place where this is within your house. This is your shul. Maybe it's near the bookcase where there are sforim. You go there and it makes you feel like you're in, wherever it is, whatever section of the house is conducive to concentration, whatever section of shul you can go there and you can get into it, get into the mode. This is Rosh Hashanah. So this is what's going on in Rosh Hashanah. We're going to have now, as Hashem, the next 20 minutes, now that we've spoken a little about what's going on in Rosh Hashanah, one area of Rosh Hashanah we want to focus on, there'll be a question, the answer. We want to be able to walk away with a practical, relevant way to get ready. So this Rosh Hashanah is like it's never been before. I'm going to do a little l'chaim here because I'm running on a little steam. Okay, let's go. If anyone has any questions or comments, please use the chat box or unmute yourself at any time. It's the only reason why it's on mute is because there shouldn't be disturbance. But if anyone has any questions, that's certainly not a disturbance. Comments, all welcome. Okay. We're going to focus on the coronation of Hashem. The fact that we will, Be'ez Hashem, in less than 1 week. This time next week will be over. Rosh Hashanah will be behind us. So let's not miss it. Let's not sleep. Don't blink too many times. Rosh Hashanah is the time where humanity, Yiddish people are going to come to shul and everybody gets involved and we all accept Hashem as the king. Coronation. And the question we're going to work on is obviously a very good question, but it's even a better answer. And the question is going to be, what happens if we don't coronate Hashem? If we decide we're going to strike, Hashem's not the king this year, what's going to happen? Then we'll have a different king? Of course not. Of course not. Isn't it our choice whether we're going to coronate Hashem? Like, Hashem created heaven and earth. And he's continuously recreating it, especially according to Chassidus. So what are we convincing ourselves we're doing on Rosh Hashanah? We're coming to shul, we're going to the mass corner, whatever we're doing, and we're going to say to Hashem, you know what, Hashem? Yeah, we vote you in. You're in. Hashem, you made it. Hashem was waiting to hear what we're going to say. He needs us to vote him in. What are we thinking? What's the whole setup of Rosh Hashanah all about? And the question is, obviously, technically, it's a cute question, but really, it's a very deep question. What does Rosh Hashanah actually accomplish? And the answer is going to be that it should really not accomplish anything. Because how would miniature, not just miniature, almost non-existent creation be able to do anything for the creator of heaven and earth, that is so far removed from any sort of creation? Why should they notice what any creation did? And the answer is, he chose to have exactly that. And when did he choose to do that? Almost exactly 5781 years ago, or exactly from today, 5781 years ago, Hashem decided that he wants to need us. Do it again. Hashem decided that he wants to need us. And then he decided that he needs us and he needs us. Now Hashem decided that he needs us and he's going to wait for us. It's almost like Hashem proposed and asked us to be the other party in his relationship, and he's waiting for our answer. Now, he didn't have to ask us. He didn't have to propose to us, but Hashem did. And Hashem wants us in a relationship, even though it's such a lopsided relationship. But that's what Hashem chose. Us. And this relationship between us and Hashem is the story of creation. This is the story of creation. And we're going to talk about today how the relationships as we know it in the universe as we know it very much reflects the relationship that Hashem created in the beginning. We're going to use the question of why 1st of Tishrei became the date for Rosh Hashanah as the entry point for this discussion. So the question is now, what makes the first day of Tishrei Rosh Hashanah? More so than the 17th day of Tishrei or the 27th day of Iyar. What happened on the first day of Rosh Hashanah? Well, we know what happens on Pesach. It's the anniversary when we left Mitzrayim. It's also the anniversary. It's the time of the year where things start to blossom. Chodesh Aviv. We know what happened on Shavuos. It's the time where we receive the Torah. It's also the time of harvest. We know what happens in Sukkot. It's the time where we noticed that Hashem was protecting us in the desert because the weather changed. And therefore we sit in Sukkot. It's also the time of where we have the agricultural shift as well as then. We know what happened on Yom Kippur. It's the anniversary of when we had full atonement after the first set of luchos was smashed. And we got the second set. And Moshe Rabbeinu came down the second set of luchos on the day of Kapara. And therefore it's Yom Kippurim. But what happened on Rosh Hashanah? And of course, the answer is going to be creation. The 6th day of creation of humanity. So Adam and Chava are created on Rosh Hashanah. And Rosh Hashanah celebrates the birth of humanity, Adam and Chava. What we're going to do is now, we're going to focus on Adam and Chava being created. We're going to look at a little closer as to how Adam and Chava and their creation came about. And some of the nuances and details teach us about relationships, the way Hashem designs a relationship, the way Hashem envisions a relationship. And of course, if we're talking about Hashem wants a relationship with us, well, we'll do well to know what Hashem thinks a relationship, Hashem thinks a relationship should work, so that we'll be able to follow that path. So let's focus on the Adam and Chava story. I'm going to put up here the screen share of the PowerPoint. Let me see if I can find it here. Here we go. F5 should give us. Here we go. Let's go to screen share. I'm going to do a couple of texts. This is the mezuzah. If you're checking, this is the shofar.support. Easy, free, user-friendly, book your COVID-19 safe shofar arrangement now. Show if it does support or extension to 8. Here we go. Rosh Hashanah. The day Hashem split Adam and Eve from dependence to independence to interdependence. Okay, what is the festival of Rosh Hashanah all about? We have here a quote from Maseches Rosh Hashanah in the Gemara. Rosh Hashanah is, says Rav Eliezer, is the day in Tishrei which the world was created. And then we have a pasuk in Bereshis, which we're looking for here. What happens on the day that the world is created, as in humanity? Hashem caused a deep sleep to fall upon man. And this man, Adam, slept, and he took one of his sides, and he closed the flesh in its place. Then Hashem built the side that he had taken from the man into a woman, and he brought her to man. And the man said, this time it is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called Isha, because May-ish, because this was taken from man. Therefore, says the pasuk, a man shall leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Interesting, Rabbi Manos Friedman was talking the other week, talking about marriage, and he says that nowadays the big question is, why should you get married? And the honest answer is, there is no reason to get married other than the pasuk we have right here. The Torah says so. Why should you get married? Lock yourself in for the rest of your life. The answer is, the Torah says so. A man should leave his father and his mother, cleave to his wife, and they should become one flesh. But here's the pasuk. Adam goes to sleep. Hashem takes part of Adam, turns it into the woman, and then wakes him up and presents him the surprise gift. So the question is going to be asked, why does Hashem not create Adam and Chava separately? Why does Hashem create Adam and Chava as a one double or dual person and then split them up? And of course, we've all heard the medrash that says that actually, you hear this at all the weddings and the Sheva brachas, the Adam and Chava, the man and woman were created together. And the idea is that they were separated so that they can come together. So the first question is, why were they created together? And the second question is, if they were split, but they have to come back together, as the last pasuk says, they have to join together in marriage, so why do you split them up? Why don't you just leave them connected? What's going on? And of course, the answer is going to be that Hashem is teaching us something, not just by making us this way, but by telling us that he made us this way. Hashem chose to tell us in the Torah that he had to separate man and woman and then bring them together and present them to each other to come back together. And the answer the Sikh is going to teach us is that actually this is how Hashem envisions, designs, and encourages us to do relationships. Dependence, independence, and then bring back together to interdependence. There's also two other beautiful questions. And one is that it says here, and Hashem built the side that he had taken. Vayivem Hashem. And the obvious question is, what's with Vayivem? Hashem built a person or Hashem created a person? It's an interesting expression to use for human beings. You build a person? What's building mean? And then there's another interesting question. Why does Adam have to be asleep? What's this falling asleep and then waking up? Couldn't Hashem just split them without having to put him to sleep? So yeah, and maybe this is where anesthesia comes from before an operation. You don't want to see all the gory bits of the operation. But this is the questions, mainly the question of why does Hashem choose to make them together, then split them, then bring them back together? And then the other two smaller questions that we have. We're going to start off with the simpler answers. Let me just get through some text here. Here we go. The cookie cutter of life. Ay, ay, ay. Why did Hashem create Adam and Chava as one? Only to separate them? And what was the significance to putting Adam to sleep? So we're going to read. We're not going to read it because we'll read. Okay, the Sitzot, we'll skip the Alshir. We'll do it all the way around. Let's see. It's a long read. Let's do the Alshir. Where's the Alshir? Here we go. It is entirely possible that Hashem did indeed consider creating two separate bodies, male and female, from the ground. However, Hashem foresaw that doing so would create distance between man and woman and challenge their partnership. Says the Alshich, Even now, after Hashem literally fashioned the woman from the man, marriage is still impossibly difficult. Imagine how much more so have they been created independently from the beginning. This is what you would call a beautiful Balabatisha answer. Why did Hashem create us joined first, then splitters, and then tell us to get back together again? Says the Alshich, and really it's brought down in the Keretsitzak even earlier, that there has to be an idea of human beings coming together. But because man and woman are so different, or one human from another human are so far apart, the only way that it could have any good chance of success was to make that the origin of the man and woman have a healthy start, a joint start. They come from the same place, because otherwise it'd be too difficult. This doesn't sound like a Rosh Hashanah shir. It almost sounds like a marriage class. But guess what? This is Rosh Hashanah. In the light of Chassidus, Rosh Hashanah is about relationships. Really, really. This is Rosh Hashanah. About the relationship between me and Hashem. And just like we hopefully take our personal relationships very seriously, at least sometimes, our relationship between us and Hashem also we should take seriously, at least sometimes. And that sometimes is now Rosh Hashanah. So we're looking at how Hashem designed a relationship, and that is that at the beginning it's one, then it's split apart, so now they can come together again. Now the obvious question is, why do we have to split them, bring back together? But before we do that, I've got to throw in some lighter stuff, some cute, interesting explanations of some of the questions we had. I'm going to start off with the explanation to the word building. Why does Hashem build a human being? Why is Hashem building the woman? Or isn't he creating it? So it's beautiful. Look at this. Maseches Eruvin in the Gemara. And the Hashem built the Tzela. This verse teaches that the Holy One blessedly braided Chava's hair and then brought her to Adam. Because in the coastal towns, they call braiding hair building, and therefore the expression Vayiven, Hashem built Chava, he didn't just create her. She went to the beauty parlor, she went to get herself done up before she came and was presented to Adam. And Hashem was building her up so that she should have the best possible appeal and attraction so that this relationship would work. Here you have from Medrash Rabbah in Bereshis that says Vayiven, he built, could also come from the word Vayiven, and he gave Bina, understanding. Vayiven from the word Bina, and he imparted extra understanding unto the woman so that again she would be even more impressive upon Adam. In other words, Hashem is setting up. That's why Bina Yisrael Nitna B'Isha Yosem and Aish, that a woman has more understanding, and this is the idea that Hashem is setting them up, that there should be an attraction, there'd be something that would draw Adam to do what would otherwise be unnatural, and that would be to draw close into a relationship. So what we're learning here is another interesting one. That's why he had to be asleep, so that when he would wake up, he wouldn't see the procedure happening. It would be a surprise, which would be uplifting and even more compelling. We understand here that the relationship is a challenge that needs to have extra boosts to make it work. And we also understand that Hashem made the procedure have those boosts built in so that we should have the best possible chance that the relationship should work. This is how Hashem designs relationships. On the one hand, it is a choice that we have to make. And on the other hand, Hashem helps us make that choice. This is how Hashem does relationships. To take it a step further, this idea of having first connected, then separate, and then choosing to bond, so that way you have a healthy relationship, we're going to learn that actually this is built into how the human being was created. Starting off with the idea that there are two types of relationships. Generally speaking, there's one relationship which is where you have people who are together not because they chose to be together, just because that's how it is. this girl's Zaidi is her Zaidi whether she likes it or not. He was her Zaidi before she was born almost. And she was destined to do that just because that's what circumstances or Ashkach Al brought about. That's one type of relationship. There was no choice or input involved. Then there's a different type of relationship, which is probably more common in numbers, and that's the relationships that we choose to make for ourselves, our friendships, our work, the people we choose to build a life together with. All these things are relationships of choice. Which of the two is a better relationship? Which of the two is better? A relationship that you've chosen or a relationship that you were born into? And of course, each one has an advantage that the other one doesn't. The relationship that you're born into has the advantage of its ability to withstand. Like, even if I fall out with my brother, he's still my brother. Even if we have a faribel, even if I don't like what my parents told me yesterday or the day before, they're still my parents. The relationship is stronger than any choice. It's a very strong relationship, very deep. But on the other hand, the relationship of a person's choice is wobbly. Today it's okay, tomorrow it might not be so okay, but it's much more personal. I am much more invested into the relationships that I've chosen for myself, that I care for. And here Hashem teaches us that we need to have the best of both worlds. We need to be able to do both. In short, Hashem teaches us that in the beginning, we all came from the same place. We are born into it. We're born together. But then we're separated and we get to choose to come together again. And that has the double power. The power of being very deep and also the power of being personally invested. This is Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is a time where we don't just daven because the davening was printed in by some printer which has the text from the Anshe Knesset Agdola, and therefore I'm going to say those words. The Machzer is full of piyutim, of pages of where we can get personally carried away into our personal journey of Rosh Hashanah. We can. I think I've said this before, but we have a good friend, Barry Weinstein, who tells his congregation, you get double points for being on the wrong page on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Be on the wrong page, as long as it's your page. As long as it's your page. Well, this year, especially if we're davening at home, we're for sure on our own page. You might as well get involved. You might as well mean it. It's brilliant. It's so uplifting to be able to go through a davening and actually get involved. Think about the fact that Hashem wants me and is waiting for me. Say, yes, let's do it. And this sort of approach, this sort of beginning, is very, very important. But now we have to talk about is this idea of how it relates to Rosh Hashanah, how it relates to the relationship, not so much of the Adam and Chava that we use as a mashal, which happens to be the purpose, the anniversary of Rosh Hashanah. How did Rosh Hashanah end up on the first day of Tishrei? Because it's the anniversary of Adam and Chava coming together. This whole being made, split, and coming back together all took place on Rosh Hashanah. Let's talk about it, how it works with the relationship with me and my Creator, Hashem and me. How does that work? So here's a beautiful text. It's a text from the Shar HaKolim from Bitzak Gloria in Eitz Chaim. Oh, a little bit of Kabbalah always spices things up. Says the Eitz Chaim in the name of the Arizal, the way it was designed at first, the dimension of Chava drew life from the back and the side of Zoh, the giver. In this design, everything she receives is from the light of Zoh that goes out the back. Thereafter, after she was split and made into a separate person, and then brought, and they were told to come together, thereafter, she was brought to Adam, panim b'panim, face to face. Which this, in many a mimer, discusses the difference between ochar ba'ochar, back to back, and panim b'panim, face to face. on the one hand, back to back, if they're stuck together, it's very well stuck together, but can't compare to the closeness that one can feel in upon him in a face-to-face encounter. This, tells the Rebbe, is the idea of the creation of relationships, the creation of humanity, to be able to be in a relationship with Hashem. Just to borrow the very famous quote of Tira B'Tachtoinim, Hashem made us, created us, built us in the expression we had here, so that we can make this house that he created, it's called the universe, planet Earth, our section of Europe, of England, of Manchester, of your street, of your home, of your neighbors, of the people you interact with. That is the creation that Hashem has created for you. And that creation, Hashem created and built the house, and then brought the interior designers, those who have a little special touch, the human being, and asked us and gave us the job, the mission, to turn the house into a home, to make it comfortable, make it godly, make it look like Hashem would be willing to come there. What's an example? An example is, I put down the phone because I just heard a piece of bad news. Chas v'shalom, should never happen. What do I do next? I'm in my own living room, and it's my own phone. Maybe there's no one else around. Maybe there's no one else home. And as I put down the receiver, my mind switches on, and I start processing what I just heard. And Hashem is waiting. This is the relationship. Worry, unhappy, unconfident, Yetzer Haras, go fly a pink kite. Yetzer Haras, I'm going to start worrying now. I'm going to have to be talking in Hashem. I'm going to remind myself, no other human is in the room, but Hashem is here with me, begging me, please. He proposes to us, let's do this. Let's walk through this next step together. Let's do teshuvah. Let's allow Hashem in. This is the relationship. So something I was cooking in the kitchen flopped. Oh, what a day. Everything's going wrong. Hashem's standing there. Please let me in. Let's do this together. I'm not going to be worried. I'm not going to be sad. I can't let myself do that. I'm a yid. I'm an neshama. I'm a creation. This is Rosh Hashanah. Let Hashem be in charge. Let Hashem be the king. And that's upon him choice. Now, it's not easy. Because effectively what we're saying is that Hashem is in control. It's true, it's not easy. This relationship requires efforts and avodah. But Hashem knows it's difficult and gave us the boosts to be able to make it work. Hashem started us off in an interconnected way that we are part of Hashem. And only after that did he rip us apart, separate us from him, and then tell us, now come forward, come closer. Because now it'll be personal, now it'll be meaningful when you choose to do it. But where did we start off from? We were so one. This is what Chassidus teaches us. Rosh Hashanah is a time when we remind ourselves that in reality, creation is nothing but Hashem. Nothing can be separate from Hashem. Can't exist. Is Hashem in the toilet? Hashem is everywhere. There's nothing that can exist without Hashem. But creation means that all that was concealed. So there was a level, there's a point in which we are so dependent on Hashem that we cannot exist without Hashem. But then Hashem creates independence. He creates independence. Hashem created us and our environment and our circle of influence of where we can have an impact and make a difference. And all that was created in such a way that it looks like Hashem's not around. And it takes us, the interior designers, to bring that feminine touch, the receiver's touch. There's not the Zoh, the Malchus touch, to be able to build, turn the house into a home, and that's a face-to-face stepping forward towards Hashem. So next time I have an opportunity, especially in the preparation for Rosh Hashanah, when we want to get onto the right train, we want to be able to get into Rosh Hashanah and say, you know what? We're going to do this. So for now, we're at least committing ourselves. We come to Hashem with a business plan and say, you know, Hashem, do me a favor. Get me a new couch, a nice vacation. Make sure that I can have a loaded bank account and good health. Make sure that my friends are going to have time to spend with me. Make sure that my family is going to be healthy and in a good mood. And then with that package, you know what we can do together? Let's do it. Oh, it'll be brilliant. And that's the business plan when I come to Hashem. And Hashem, say to Hashem, yeah, it could be last year, maybe some or a lot or the bulk of the resources you invested into my projects didn't quite go to where they were ended as supposed to end up. But now, this is a new year. And this new business plan, I'm focused. I'm getting ready for this Rosh Hashanah. I'm getting into this new year on the right train, on the right track. I want to be able to do this properly. I'm not building worry. I'm not letting sadness become part of my life. I'm not going to try and stay locked into my non-Geula mindset. No. This world's not a jungle. I believe I'm allowing myself to be part of Hashem's relationship. This is Rosh Hashanah. And everything about Rosh Hashanah feeds into this. It's sweet. It's light. It's bright. It's uplifting. It's a Rosh Hashanah like it's never been before. Tafshin Pei Aleph. Arenu Plois. There'll be wonders to be seen, to be noticed. And that's this year. We're getting ready. And when we do this, then we'll know that we are ready for Rosh Hashanah on a level like never before. And that's exactly why we coronate Hashem. Hashem waits for us to coronate him. This is the relationship that he shows all this time waiting for us. Just want to end off with one important slide, and that is that we are not going round in circles. It's not every year is a new start, and we go back to what we started from. We are on a trajectory, and from the day one of creation, we're headed towards a destination. And we've never been so close before. The goal of our relationship with Hashem is to make this house into a home. Well, that home is almost complete. His presence is fully revealed in the world, and the onset of Mashiach is where we are at. Just want to share with you a quick memory. In the month of Elul, the first day of Elul, we celebrate in my family the time where our son, our Bechir, was born. Mendel was born. And at the time, we were in, Shana was working hard, laboring, and it was a long labor. And the midwife came out and she said to us at the time, don't worry, it's almost there. It's only getting closer. And I was ripping my hair out. Now I was working very hard. I was working hard to not work hard. But the idea was that the more time that passes by, it's not that it's not going to happen. It's only getting closer. We have never been so close to Geula, ever. And it's now. It's happening. Let's do it. Let's let ourselves free. Let's jump into coronating Hashem. And when we hear the call of the shofar, it's a shofar that's talking to humans, to me and you and people who are not Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Akiva, or the Rebbe, or Moshe Rabbeinu. Human beings. We are the people who are going to make this world into a home for Hashem. Hashem is on our team. Hashem is in our team. We are the team with Hashem. Now we're in the final stretch, in the home run stretch. Let's do it. Let's make this Rosh Hashanah like never before. And Be'ez Hashem, everyone should have a ksiva v'chsima toiva, a shana toiva masukah, and look out for each other. Look out for your health. Just want to remind everybody, shofar.support. If you need a shofar, you know anyone needs to hear a shofar. And I think the next year, stay tuned. Maybe next week there will, maybe there won't be a year. The week after that, for sure, there will not be, because Monday will be Yom Kippur. After that will be Chol Hamoed, and then there'll be Isru Chag. So we'll just stay tuned for the text messages. But if anyone has any questions or comments, please unmute yourself. If you haven't yet and you want to sign up for shofar.support, please do so. And I wish everyone all a good Kabbalah Shtiyar.
Amen. Thank you, and you too.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Shalom Tov Masukah.
Amen.
Rabbi.
Thank you.
You see it, Tova.
Thank you very much. A good Kabbalah Shtiyar.
Good Kabbalah Shtiyar.
Amen.
Okay, any questions going once? Twice, third time, Zachar. Okay, Atzlachem.